Good morning, Vietnam!
What's up, Gorilla Nation, and welcome your butts back to a brand new edition and a brand new Division 2 video. But before we hop into today's video, if you would be so kind to smash that like button, ground and pound that subscription button, then reach up there, fondle the bell, and turn on post notifications. So that way you know each and every time a stream goes live or a video that is uploaded. Well, if you haven't seen the thumbnail, which is I'm pretty sure you have, and that's the whole reason why you clicked on the video, and if you're still a part of the community and play the Division 2, then you kind of have seen this periodically over the years, and it's just progressively gotten worse and worse as far as the divide that's within the community. Now, this divide is caused by not just one particular reason, but a multitude of reasons, and then when you combine that all together and you mix it with feelings and emotion, then things can get pretty dicey and, taken a little too far at times. But, that's what this video is more or less about today, the reason why the community is divided. Now, we're going to start out first with the most obvious of divisions within the division. Okay, that worked out. Is, of course, the PvE versus the PvP. Because let's face it, I mean, the PvP community is really and utterly salty right now because there's nothing really being done as far as something that they particularly love to do in this game. They view it as the PvE players are more or less getting all the benefits and reaping all the rewards for such things like this title update 15 that we had waited so long for, and just to make things even worse than what it was in the Dark Zone. I mean, I'll even admit I kind of missed pre TU15. And I'm not going to go into a big rant on what I think, why TU15, the whole expert thing, and the upcoming TU16 is shapoopy. I'll save that for another video of my reasoning, but there's good reasons behind it. And thus, in turn, you got the PvEers, and, when asked or, a discussion is brought up, you do fall into some that'll say, well, it's a mostly PvE game. Well, you PvE also, and PvPers do anyways, in order to PvP, because most of them that are the diehard sweats that are still, PvPing in the Dark Zone, even though it's just a complete cluster nightmare, a living hell right now, is because, they came straight from like Division 1. And ultimately in Division 1, the PvP was the end game for Division 1. Because you can only rinse and repeat the mission so many times over a prolonged period of time for what? I mean, unless it's just for the people that you're playing with to, conversate with them and have a camaraderie. But, other than that, it's PvP time. And Division 2, it changed that dynamic of things, and as of late, they've been feeling left out. I, for one, am an avid PvPer back in Division 1, have been up until, I guess, more for the most part, my recent return a couple months back from me being away for health reasons for almost 2 years. I wish I, hadn't had, but, life dictated other things. But, I'm back, and then, I just see things progressively snowballing, more and more, this divide. And when it comes to, I mean, might as well mention it now, the title update 15, like, what's the whole purpose for the expertise leveling? I mean, if you really look at its core and long-term ramifications, yes, it's good for PvE, but so that you can burn through content faster. But, unless you're farming for something specific, which is the majority of the hardcore PvE folk, pretty much, have everything, and we're limited on actually the new stuff that's been given to us thus far. We got a few things sprinkled in, but, 2 weeks, and you basically have, done every single build that you possibly can make and try out with it, and it's just a rinse and repeat type thing. So unless you're doing speed runs, you can get to the same content from builds 2 years ago. But yet the ramifications in the PvP side of things it just makes things even more ridiculous, especially when you look at the simple fact of lack of balancing, things within the game. And you can, have the reasons and excuses as far as the reasons why, things aren't, I guess, balanced in the way that they should be. And you can, use the whole pandemic thing, all you want to, but it just feels like for the most part the devs have turned their back on a large part of their community. That's the only reason why Division 1 has still players, going to it is for the PvP aspect. And then only getting this one game mode, and they're just now getting to where they you be able to change the difficulty on it. But yet, just a few more sprinkled in, things here and there, then nothing else until all the way in December, other than, a global event. And of course, Imperial event, the skill tree thing, it got pushed back. So really, we're waiting another August, September, October, November, almost 5 months, a half a year for, any really thing new and anything to really hold on to try out, make new builds with or whatnot. And, it's really slim pickings. And you just got to look at the core of the situation, and it comes down to the balancing issues, things that haven't been addressed for, we're talking pre-pandemic things that hasn't been addressed. This game has been unbalanced for years. So the whole pandemic excuse is thrown out the window. Yes, that put a halt on things, but they wouldn't do anything about it, prior to that in 2020. So, we can move on from that. And the other thing, as far as just the lack of the confidence in the devs and then also content creators themselves that bring you content for the division. Now, when it comes to the devs aspect of it, it's been an up and down roller coaster. I mean, even dating back from Division 1 players that came over to Division 2 like me already knew, Massive's and Ubisoft's background and history, and we thought they had learned from it, but it's just been more of the same. And the lack of attention to the ecosystem as a whole for the division has further this spread and divide between PvE players and PvP players. I mean, and it's just escalated things. Yeah, I mean, you think of it right now. Um, it's even so bad that even if they wanted new players to experience Division 2, yes, they're going to be stuck in PvE because as soon as they step foot into the Dark Zone, unless they find a completely empty server, then they're going to have no peace. And after about 5 minutes, they're never going to want to go in there ever again because it has become that toxic and it's kind of foolhardish. And especially if your expertise level is under 20 and your gear is under maxed out and you're just under geared in general, yeah, that PvP DZ experience of just seeing what it's about is going to quickly vanish out the window as fast as you thought about going in there and see what it was about and trying it out. Nobody's going to want to venture in there. So therefore, in turn, bringing new people in is just basically going to be nothing but for the PvE content, and there's only so much you can do. For content creators and people that are members of these vast communities that love doing the raids and the speed runs and things on Legendary, which is I'm glad Countdown is going to have a Legendary, and of course Tidal Basin Legendary and Manning Zoo Legendary. But after a couple times of them, a couple of speed runs, unless you're a perfectionist, that is going to melt away, and within a couple weeks after they give it to us. And then we're still going to be waiting another over 4 months, and hopefully it doesn't get delayed. And if history speaks for itself, there's a good possibility that even TU16 will be delayed. So all these accumulate together, and it's just made things even more hostile for players of both sides. And then when it comes to content creators, you have folks that are, well, let's start this way. Let's look at there's two things when it comes to being part of a community. Either you're a contributor to that community, whether you're a content creator or just a member of their community, or you just come in here with your friends and you go to these help agents distress calls, or you matchmaking Countdown and things of that nature. You help out other people the best you can, have asked questions. That's contributing to the community. On the other hand, if you're not doing any of those things, and some content creators fall in this particular category, you're more or less, what I would call a leech of the community. You're not there for the overall betterment of the community, and the only thing that you're contributing is, things that have already been done over and over and over again that you're just regurgitating and, putting on flashy titles and whatnot, to get these clicks and these views, and your intentions are purely selfish. So, can you, one that's motives are completely selfish, is that really a betterment, a contributing, community member, or are you the detriment and the leech? I'll let each and every individual out there make their own opinions and their own assumptions about the content creators and whatnot. And you can take these thumbnails two ways. When it comes to, and I may have been wrong about this too when I just had recently, put this exposed video out on certain content creators myself. That you can determine it that when they put God mode or one man army or best in their thumbnail, that their meaning that's how they feel. They feel they are God when they use this build. They feel that they are immortal when they use this build. They feel that in their opinion it's the best, they can do. Or you can look at it as their clickbait, like they wanting you to think that, you can be God with this build, that, you can be a one-man army, or, this is the best at the entire game and no other variations is going to come close to, the one that you're wanting to click on or they want you to click on. So there's two flip sides of the coin, and, some make it more apparent than others. But, at the end of the day, we are all people and we have free will. And, we are smart enough to determine what is what, who's pulling the wool over our eyes and who's not, what they're actually meaning. And really the catch-22 is, in order to determine this, you have to click on these videos, right? So regardless, at the end of the day, they're still getting those clicks and views regardless whether they're clickbait or not. So in the end, it's like you're just throwing more traffic that way because they also want to see, for themselves, if they haven't seen it, if this person is actually full of crap or not. And so in turn, it's like a never-ending cycle of the rinse and repeat, and it never really does anything because the community itself never really takes a stand and puts their foot down and like, well, I'm just not going to watch this person anymore. I'm gonna unsubscribe to their channel and just go about their way. I'm all about free expression and showing different variations of builds because I'm underscored. I have minimal gear. None of really of my pieces are maxed out, so I know what it's like to be a player just coming back to the game from being away for 2 years and being outmatched and under gear scored. But I still put out stuff to try to, think, I'm in the same situation, so here's an alternative if you don't have the correct right pieces to have a fully maxed out best there is to offer in the game build that most other content creators that never, had the misfortune of having to leave the game. But unfortunately I did, so I'm just putting out, the best that I have to offer and letting my audience know that this is the reason. I'm undermatched, underscored, and if you are too, then I have fun using this, burning through PvE content, and you can too. So it's just things like that, and really there is no solution in order to break this divide because there's always going to be some minuscule or an amount of divide between the PvE and the PvP communities, regardless of how you look at it. But there are some things that we can minimize it and not just hold content creators accountable, but also devs, because they say that the community is in love, with, all things that are currently going on in Division, and that's just not true, or they're only listening to a certain group of individuals and not listening to the community as a whole, because it's basically split in half. And if you know anything and everything about this game and look at the long-term ramifications and understand the whole balancing issues and actually the ins and outs of what's actually wrong with the game currently, then then you're just not going to know and actually are going to believe that everything's hunky and dory. And especially when it comes to if you're only in a PvE environment and that's all that you're going to do, of course you're going to think things are PvE. All I'm saying is look at it from the PvPer side of things that, yeah, the Dark Zone is bad. We love it that the fact that you're getting what you want out of, TU15 and TU16, but there's some individuals that feel left out and abandoned, and rightfully so, they have been. So I'm just saying, we could actually come together and demand balance regardless. Because it's like on one hand, some things are not necessarily needed, but you'll take it anyways because who's going to turn down anything that's free that's actually going to make things as far as damage wise that you can burn through the same regurgitated content over and over and over repeatedly with and not worry about everybody else because I mean there's a lot of people that are have their selfish nature and be like, well, well, I don't PvP, so it doesn't affect and bother me. I get all this sprinkled little glitter on this big turd and I'm happy with it. But even though this turd is sprinkled with glitter, at the end of the day it's still turds. And if you put good and shiny stuff and sprinkle it in little, stuff that, makes people excited and, they'll come back for a brief moment to check it out to see what it's all about and realize, well, the underlying fundamentals of the game is completely still out of whack and nothing has been done, then within a matter of a week or two, or maybe a little longer, they're just going to turn around and leave right again. So where's the longevity in the game and extending its life? I mean, something still has to be done regardless of what coin side you're on. I'm just simply stating that there is a divide in the community, and there are some things that we can minimize it, and we just need to ask ourselves whether or if we're a contributor or are we a leech. Are we a benefit or are we a detriment? And as I always say at the end of every live stream, try to be a better person tomorrow than what you were today. And if you keep putting that one foot forward and doing your due diligence and have a little bit of morals and integrity, then that's all that you need. And all we can do is keep our fingers crossed, hope and pray, and give your feedback. Respectfully give your feedback and bring your receipts as far as don't offer and complain about things within the game if you have no solutions to offer in return. Because, in order to fully express any argument or whatnot on why things are bad, then you need to have a solution, regardless whether it's an all right, mediocre, or a bad solution. It's some kind of alternative to what we have, and I'm pretty sure any alternative right now is better than what we have. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I appreciate all the love and support, and as I just said, try to be a better person tomorrow than what you were today. God bless.